Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Property Management 101, and today we'll be discussing the biggest differences between multifamily versus single family management. If you've not already done so, please watch my disclosure video as well as my why I do this video. And if you found this video helpful and learned something new, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. This video will apply best for anyone who is an investor considering which space to manage in, either single family homes or multifamily sites, or employees that are working in one side of the industry or the other that are interested in some of the major differences between the two different types within property management. There are a lot of differences between the two, but I've created a list of the 4 biggest differences that impact the day-to-day more than any other items. Number 1, investors or ownership. Typically with single family management, you're not going to just have one owner or one ownership group that has the same strategy or the same communication. Unlike multifamily, where you may only have 1 or 2 different types of ownership groups that probably have a similar strategy, in that side of the industry, even as a regional manager, you're probably not going to have any more than 2 to 3 within your portfolio. But if you manage 150 units in the single family space, you're going to have a lot more different types of owners, different types of strategies, different types of communication styles. And that is one very big difference between the two sides of the industry. Understanding their strategy. Is it going to be cash flow? Is it going to be due to a tax reason and they looking to refinance in the next couple of years and pull that money back out that they invest in? Is it going to be a situation they're looking to sell their asset? Those are a lot of the common conversations you have on the single family side that you may not have to the same degree on the multifamily side. Also between the two, when it comes to ownership, you typically don't have that direct interaction. If you're a site level manager or even a regional level manager, you may have a layer or two of asset managers or VPs that talk to the ownership group directly, where you may not even have that direct interaction. But on the single family management side, typically property managers work every day directly with those owners of those assets to understand their needs or wants or just communicate what's going on with updates. Number 2 of the biggest differences between the two, consistency. In multifamily, if you have a product, you're probably going to have very little difference between the different types of layouts and different location that it could be in. You might work at a property with 300 units and you only have 3 different types of layouts. Now, if you work in the single family space and you manage 150 units, most likely every single one's going to have a different layout. Also with multifamily, typically all of your buildings or floors usually have a similar look, both from an interior and exterior perspective, and that's not typically going to be the case in single family management. Number 3, regulation. Multifamily and single family management are both regulated by fair housing laws and real estate commission laws, as well as other local and state tenant landlord laws. Now, as you practice single family management, you will find you will often be working with the real estate commission more often than dealing with fair housing complaints. And this is very vice versa with multifamily, as you'll see many more issues that come up or regulations or guidelines that you follow as a company or a procedure or policy are going to be more leaning towards fair housing practices than the real estate commission. It is important to know your fair housing laws and real estate commission laws, regardless of the type of asset you work in. But typically, single family management does work more directly with the real estate commission, and typically multifamily does work with fair housing and deals with those type of items more often. And the last biggest difference between single family management and multifamily is location. With single family management, it is not unheard of to have 2 assets that are 2 hours away from each other. These sites can actually be same strategy, same owner, but they're a great distance, maybe of 2 hours drive time, maybe 20 to 30 miles between the two. While multifamily, all units tend to be in one location, or all buildings tend to be in a very close proximity of each other. So you typically don't have the dynamic of driving around to each asset to see a unit. You could typically walk between buildings or floors, and some properties may have a golf cart or things like that to get around in a smaller property. This is why oftentimes in single family management, property managers are fully remote. They work full-time remote, and for some individuals they like that dynamic, but for some individuals they prefer an office setting. But that's why they typically work remote in single family management, as they're typically driving between all these assets, visiting them, inspecting them, giving tours, performing move-outs, things like that. If you have any questions about this video or any of my videos, feel free to comment below. I'll be happy to address it for you. And if you did find this video helpful and learned something new, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Happy leasing!